Okay, it's been a bit of a hiatus since the last couple of weeks. Got the flu and then came back from Dubai, but we're back home now. We're back locked in. So yeah, I thought I'd talk about the top 5 skills that you need to build a 7-figure agency. And for context, if you've never seen one of these before, I work with like 300 agencies and help them scale. We've done 0 to 7 figures in like under a year, pretty consistently. So yeah, it's not like one of these things where you get someone online like these Dubai guys and stuff like that, where they've never actually done anything. But nonetheless, the first skill is going to be paid ads. And I know a lot of people kind of get scared of paid ads. They're kind of worried about it much more so than they would be for something like cold outreach. And they get a bit a little bit, I don't know, they kind of get scared or a little bit sheepish when it comes to spending their own money on advertising. And it's weird because most people will go ahead and spend 3K a month on an editor, or they'll go spend, 1 or 2K a month on some cold outreach systems and some domains. But when it comes to spending 50 or $100 a day on paid ads, they start thinking, oh shit, that's expensive, just because the cost is kind of direct or upfront. Whereas, for an editor, it seems like you're spending on like an investment. But paid ads are absolutely a revenue driven cost. It's not something that you just spend on with no intention of getting that money back. Like it's actually faster to get the money back from paid ads usually compared to outreach or content. But nonetheless, learning paid ads and figuring out how to book even 10 qualified sales calls a month, it won't even cost you that much. That'll cost you 1,000 or 2,000 bucks a month to get 10 qualified sales calls. If you can do that, that's more than enough for what you need to, over a year, close 2 or 3 clients a month, keep your churn under control. You're not doing anything crazy at that point. But if you can learn that skill and understand how to do it, you immediately put yourself ahead of 99% of the people that just rely on referrals. They rely on inbound leads, or they post content and kind of just, mess around and beg for deals online and things like that, doing, kind of spammy cold outreach, because it is one of those things where the market right now in terms of cold outreach is terrible. So if you can master paid ads, all of a sudden you run into something that's actually worth it. Whereas, with things like cold outreach, they can kind of get rug pulled quite quickly. And yeah, you can get your ad accounts banned. But the thing about paid ads is that paid ad platforms actually want you to advertise. The cold outreach people like LinkedIn, cold email, even Instagram, they limit your ability to quote unquote advertise with the cold outreach. So it's a little bit less likely that you get banned, especially when you're just spending 50 to 100 bucks a day. Like you don't need to spend that much. And let's say you don't even want that many clients because you're already getting clients. Even just getting something where you can continually hone your ability to turn a cold client or a cold person into a customer is going to put you ahead. Because the real reason that most people struggle with dealing with inbound leads all the time is because it gives them zero predictability and it gives them no ability to go out and just get a client. Like they just kind of wait and they just can't do anything to get a client. Like you have to get an ability to go and get a client from a stranger. So like I said, even if you're not in a rush to get deals through the door, just getting something where you can get leads and get your name out there and get people to know who you are a little bit with something like paid ads, it's going to do really well for you. And if you have a bit of money to spend, like I said, don't fucking spend it on an editor. Don't spend it on, 2,000 bucks a month of doing cold outreach. Right now, all the clients that I have, all the 300 clients that I have, they're all getting the best results just from paid ads. So as soon as you're at like 10, 20K a month, I'd just be spending money on paid ads to try and figure out how to crack it and get my deals from there. Now, the second skill that you're going to want to do or learn or focus on in order to build a 7-figure agency is going to be offers. And I know it's kind of one of those things at this point where everyone talks about offers. You got the $100 million offers. You've got everything that people talk about when it comes to offers. The thing is though, people mess this up so drastically despite how much information there is on the internet. Like I swear everyone talks about, you need no-brainer offer, but it's very, very rare that someone can actually do this. And the reason it's so hard for an agency specifically is because if you know the value equation from Alex Hormozy, you'll know perceived likelihood of outcome is such an important part of creating value. So if someone doesn't think something's going to occur, like if you say, hey, I can get you this thing, and they don't think it's going to occur, the value isn't there. And when you're running an agency, specifically running an agency that's below 7 figures, not only is it very competitive, but it's also not always that likely that you're going to get the result because you might not have the case studies in the track record yet. So in terms of creating an offer that is perceived as really valuable and perceived as really likely to occur, It's really hard because they've been burned before, and you also probably don't have, it's not like you have 10 years in the game. It's not like you have all this proof where you can lean on and say, hey, we did this for this many people and things of that nature. So when it comes to building an offer that builds trust, the number one way to do it is to use an intro offer into a recurring offer. Now, some people say this is dumb because I'm not dumb, but some people say this is too slow, and selling an intro offer is a waste of time. But in reality, everyone sells an intro offer whether they know it or not. It's just about how valuable that thing is. So, for example, people offering audits, people offering lead magnets, people selling one-time projects, people selling or offering digital products. Like, whatever you put first is just your intro offer. And the only goal of that intro offer is to basically just get someone to trust you and you don't lose money from doing it. That's it. Like, if you can sell someone something for like $100, $200, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and it's a one-time payment and it's perceived as low risk and likely to occur in terms of getting the outcome that you're promising, you'll do a lot better than trying to sell a recurring deal. And I know I talk about that a lot. I've got a lot of videos on my channel about that. So I won't yap on about offers specifically. I feel like we know why they're important. It's just a matter of actually doing it correctly instead of kind of wasting your time with most of the internet advice that you see typically. The next one is going to be sales funnels. And you'll notice that the top 3 skills of these that I've mentioned are all about just getting leads in and converting them. And again, the reason for that is because if you can't take a stranger and turn them into a client, you are always going to be on the back foot. You are always going to have clients giving you headaches that pay you $1,000 a month. It's so low. You're going to have all these low paying clients that you can't replace because you don't have any control over your pipeline, and you're going to be literally at their mercy. You could not be in a worse position than not being able to fire a client. The absolute best thing is when you're on a sales call with someone and you say, look, mate, shut up. I don't want to work with you. You're so annoying. Like, get out of here. Like, you stop wasting our time. Because, you can kind of tell when these clients are going to be a headache. But if you're desperate for pipeline, you kind of take those deals when you probably shouldn't. And then it bites you in the ass, 2 weeks later when they're blowing up your Slack channel about, whatever problem they're having. When in reality, it's probably just because they have a business that's not doing that well. And then, you're working with them. You're meant to be the one saving their business. And now it's your fault because, to be fair, you did take them on as a client. So it is your fault. And then the second part of that is that desperation, when you actually get a client who's worth working with, that you do want to work with, that desperation and that need to get the deal is absolutely repulsive. It's disgusting, and they can smell it on you. I was reviewing a sales call of a guy running an agency yesterday, and I was watching it. I was just like, it seems like you want this deal so badly. Like, it seems like you need this deal. And I bet this deal is not going to close because I can see the client, or the prospect in this case, asking questions, and they're just kind of getting a huge amount of resistance because they can sense that not only is the guy kind of following a sales script too closely, he's not really letting himself go on the sales calls, not really loose on the sales calls, he's kind of tense. He's also selling really, really hard, and he's just in his tonality, in his energy. You can see that he just wants to pitch. He doesn't really care about qualifying them. He doesn't really care about hearing about their business and finding out what the real problem is. He's just kind of like waiting to get to that pitch where he can say, hey, I want to do a free audit, or hey, I want to do this. And when you do that, like I said, it's as a result of not having the ability with your paid ads, with your offers, with your funnels. So when you don't have that, it makes everything worse because, you might think, it's just a couple of headache clients, but they get in the door. Your team hates them. Your team starts to hate you. Your team starts to hate coming into work. You start to hate coming into work. And basically the whole vibe of your company just gets degraded by like 30 to 40%, sometimes even worse than that, just from one client. Like, you can have one client that is such a headache that your whole company talks about them for like 2 hours a day, which is crazy because let's say you have, 5 team members. That's 2 hours times 5 team members, 10 hours a day of productive work. That's gone. Not to mention the fact that they'll just hate their lives in general, which is not ideal. But the whole point of this is to say, if you can't learn how to get a sales funnel going and convert someone from a freezing cold lead into a customer, there's honestly no point in scaling to 7 figures, because I know people will scale up to, a really strong level just off referrals and just off, maybe an inbound audience. Like, maybe they've got an audience on YouTube or Twitter or something. and they'll scale up, and then eventually they'll think, oh shit, I've run out of people that know me. The algorithm isn't favoring me right now. I need to do all this stuff now. Like now I need to do paid ads. Now I need to get an offer that actually works. Now I need to get a sales system that actually works. And they kind of get stuck at that point because they think they've been doing well at sales. They think they've been doing well at offers. They think all their stuff is so good because, to be fair, they have scaled up using maybe an inbound channel. But when you are in the position where you have to go to a cold lead, your offers have to be way better. Your funnels have to be way better. Your VSLs have to be way better. And it's just generally more difficult because you're dealing with people that don't trust you as well. So the whole point of that is to say that no matter what, you are going to have to get in a position, or you are going to end up in a position where you run out of people that know who you are, and you're going to have to learn how to convert cold leads at some point. So if you're below 7 figures, you may as well just learn how to do that now. Then when you start posting your content, it kind of just becomes a supplement to your acquisition strategy. Whereas if you're just relying on that channel, again, that desperation thing that I said about the sales calls, that comes out in your content as well. Whereas when you don't really need the deals and you're just posting because you want to share valuable content, you already get clients from paid ads, you already get clients from outreach. It just becomes something that props up your other acquisition channels, and it makes your content work better. And it also makes you not rely on one channel. In terms of, like, I know people who used to get a shit ton of clients from Twitter, and then these days, fast forward a few months after Elon bought it, and they can't get shit from Twitter. And now they're thinking, oh, now I need to go learn how to convert a cold lead. How do I do that? And like I said, it's just that cycle of you run out of people that know you, and then you have to convert a cold client. So if you're not doing these things that I've talked about earlier in this video, you're pretty much running in circles in a way. So enough about that. We're going to go on to another skill that is also acquisition based, and that's YouTube and Instagram content. And the reason for this, and specifically, again, the reason for all 4 of these things is that it is going to basically advertise your stuff to strangers. And the reason you need to do that is because no one knows who you are at all, especially if you're just starting. Like you can imagine you're going to a new school. When you have a new business, it's like going to a new school. No one knows who you are. You have to, find some friends, maybe if you've got it like that. And the whole point is that you are letting people know who you are, because when no one knows who you are, they can't be friends with you. You can't play sports with them. You can't go, out on the weekends with them because they don't know who you are. It's the exact same with an agency. When no one knows who you are, how the hell are they going to buy your stuff? Just one of those simple, fundamental things that you don't think about too much. So let's say you have a Twitter audience of, 2,000 people. That means that 2,000 people know who you are, or maybe a few more if you get a little bit of reach outside your audience. But let's say you have a little LinkedIn audience of 5,000-10,000 people. If you're consistently selling to that, that is not a source of consistent new deals. It's not a source of consistent new deals. And yeah, those can be great platforms in terms of getting new reach and growing your following. And I only use that as an example to kind of think about how many new people are seeing my stuff. How much reach am I getting? How many new introductions to my ideal clients am I getting? How many new leads am I getting? All of these sorts of things, because then when you think about that, hitting the same audience over and over and over and over again with the same message, yes, it's good, but is it a comprehensive advertising strategy? Absolutely fucking not. So you need to go to these platforms like YouTube and Instagram, where you're going to get a bit of nurture, you're going to get a bit of top of funnel, and you need to supplement that with the other 3 things that I've talked about in this video. Because if you are not consistently going into new audiences with your content and consistently getting new people into the top of the funnel, there's no point. Like if you're posting a lead magnet to an audience of 5,000 people, let's say you get 100 opt-ins to that lead magnet, you shouldn't even expect to book more than a couple of calls, because let's say you get 100 opt-ins, that's like $200 or $300 of ad spend that you could have put on Meta. So if you book 1 or 2 calls from that, you're thinking, $200, $300 per call, that's fine. But you're sending it to your audience, and because you feel great about this, audience, like micro niche authority audience that you have, and you're thinking, this is great. Like I'm getting, I should be getting leads from this. Like what's going wrong? You need to be advertising to new audiences because no one knows who you are, because you're selling to the same people over and over and over and over again. And then you wonder why it doesn't work. And it's like, well, no shit, it doesn't work, because you're not hitting new audiences and getting introduced to new people. You're just continually giving the same message to 150 of your ideal customers who actually follow you, because you have 5,000 people follow you, and maybe only 200 of those are actual clients. So it's massive and important to learn platforms like YouTube and Instagram. I'll throw LinkedIn in there as well, and learn how to grow an audience over time. Because again, when you have your paid ads running, when you have your outreach running, when you have these things working, you end up getting a lot of leads, and you need somewhere for them to get nurtured. So things like YouTube, absolutely great for that. And even Instagram is great because it has the messaging function built in, and LinkedIn as well, because I like LinkedIn a little bit more recently, because specifically when you have these things running, a lot of the higher level businesses will look you up on LinkedIn rather than an Instagram or Twitter. So it's good to have those things combined. And then the last skill that I'll talk about today, and probably the most important, once you've solved the first 4 skills. So once you've got your paid ads, you've got your offers, you've got your funnels, you've got your YouTube, the biggest problem that you'll have is your team. So you'll have a massive problem with the skill level of your team. And this is one of the best ways to get leverage, actually, is to get an employee that you can pay, $30-$50 an hour, and get 250, 300, 400 bucks an hour of work out of that employee that you only have to pay a way smaller amount. And the way that you do that is by hiring people that are really smart and really trainable, and having an elite employee training system. And this is probably the one that's a little bit more esoteric, or a little bit less talked about in the space. And the reason for that is because, people don't always like hearing about operations and stuff that actually works, but it is one of the most important things that you can have. Because again, once you scale, you're getting clients, you're getting people in the door. The last thing that you want is to screw over all those clients you just got with a shit service. And as well, if you have to do all this stuff, you are going to fuck it up yourself. So you have to learn the way that you can get off the kind of hamster wheel of constantly doing all this fulfillment, and step off the hamster wheel for 10 minutes to be able to make an employee training and spend some money and go hire someone. So then they can, do all that stuff for you. And they'll probably do a way better job than you once they're trained up, and they'll actually have the bandwidth for it. So instead of just staying in this cycle where you kind of do a lot of lead gen, you get a bunch of clients in the door, then you have to fulfill the clients, then you're like, oh shit, I don't have any lead gen, and then having to go back to lead gen, you can just consistently grow because you have an employee training system that works really, really well. I think Matt has a video about that on his channel, Matthew Larson. And the reason it's so important is because you can make that employee training system once, and then after you have the employee training system, you can kind of pretty much just put them through that system and then have some calls with them, check in with them. Obviously, you're still managing the employee in that instance, but it gives you a bit of leverage to be able to say, hey, go through this course, go through this program that we've made for people in that role. And it will basically leverage them up so you can put in X amount of capital and get Y amount of returns, which is higher than X. Because that puts you in about 100 times of a better position than kind of just having employees that don't know what the fuck they're doing, and then you think it's their fault, but in reality, you just haven't trained them at all. I literally can't stress enough how often I see this, and it's a really fast way to fuck it up. So don't do that. But either way, this has been the 5 skills you want or you need to focus on to grow a 7-figure agency: paid ads, offers, it was funnels, it was YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn content, and hiring and training a team. If you want more videos like this, all of those trainings are on my channel, or Matthew Larson's channel is my partner. If you go through, you'll be able to find things that talk about that. Pretty much all we talk about is lead generation, agency growth, that sort of stuff. So feel free to check it out. I'll leave some links around this video that will, have some of those videos for you. Go watch them.